There's none of that in this movie. That's a good sign. I saw Power Rangers tonight, finally. I finally got a freaking chance. I saw it on a Monday, though. Come on, I was one day away from Super Tuesday, but I work on Tuesdays, like every conceivable Tuesday known to man. Anyways, I saw it. Here's the Too Lazy Didn't Read version, right at the beginning of the video. It's fun. It's a fun movie. Is it great? No. It's not a fantastic movie. It's just, I had fun. That's the basic premise. If that turns you off and you don't seem interested in that type of review, then I don't know what to tell you. So let's get into it. The basic premise of this Power Rangers movie is finally we got some teenagers with actual attitude behind them. They're basically all fuck-ups in some way. And all of a sudden, they kind of all meet at one place just by this magic coincidence, I guess. And they find power coins, and one thing leads to the next. Next thing you know, they're in a spaceship. They meet Alpha 5 and Zordon, and that's when things turn Power Rangery right there. That's the basic premise, and now they have to stop Rita because of coincidences, and she got fished up by Jason's dad or his crew, I guess. So it's like one big coincidence fest that gets the plot rolling. But other than that, the movie's it's all right. It's an all right movie. Let's get into it. So the story, or the movie as a whole, is very structured by acts. It's the traditional Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. It's very traditional. The first act is definitely about setting up the characters and setting up the world. Angel Grove, is that what it's called? I forget. It's about setting everything up. It's about the world and looking into the characters that are the Power Rangers and what they deal with on a daily basis. It's kind of like a drama, and at some parts it also has to set up Rita and the villain. Some parts almost feel kind of like horror movie-ish, which I kind of like that. But it wasn't nothing absolutely scary. It's just with the direction they were taking, it almost felt kind of horror movie-ish. Then events take place with the characters, and that's when just one thing leads to the next, and now they're in the spaceship. That's where they meet Alpha 5, who's voiced by Bill Hader, and Zordon, who's also voiced/played by Bryan Cranston. This is where they have a big exposition dump about what Power Rangers are, what it means to be a Power Ranger, the ultimate threat that they're facing, the annihilation of the universe. You find out about the Zeo Crystal, nice little Easter egg there about the Zeo Crystal. Long story short, is a life force. If Rita gets her hands on it, then she's going to destroy the whole fucking universe with it, starting with Earth, obviously. So once you learn that, this is basically where you start to see like the action. You start to see more of an action, and it's definitely, it takes a little bit more lightheartedness to it. So there's action to it, and there's more comedy to it, and that's also when you start seeing character depth. So the character depth keeps going. I meant character development, not depth, but same thing really. There's more action, there's more comedy. That's plain and simple. The only problem is there's a lack of Power Ranger suits. And there's actually a point. It's kind of in between. It's like at the end of the second act and the beginning of the third act, where something happens, and then one of the Rangers suits up because what it takes to be a Ranger, what it means to be a Power Ranger, and one character finally gets it. I'm not going to say who. I don't want to talk about the story too much. Then you get into the third act, and the third act is just straight up just fucking action, explosion, CGI, and just craziness. Power Rangers, the movie you wanted to see. There you go. All nicely just mashed up into this nice little 30 to 45 minute segment. Or it might be even less than that. I think half an hour is kind of pushing it a little bit. That's what you have. That's the movie Power Rangers. That's what it amounts to. It's fun. Like I said, it's comedic when they finally get the suits on. It's cool. It's action packed. It's funny. There's also that drama aspect, and there's just a little touch of horror in there. They wanted to make Rita kind of scary, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not going to go into depth with all the different Rangers and the characters. I think what I will say is each Ranger, the character, gets the appropriate amount of screen time and kind of development and backstory that you need to know. The only exception is I don't think Trini got the backstory that she deserved. I think she has the most attitude out of all of them, and we don't really kind of get to see why, which kind of sucks. But I'm not gonna. That doesn't take anything away from the movie itself. I think even with that said, every Ranger gets their own proper development, and then you kind of start to see why there's at first they don't really know each other, and that's when they start to form friendships. And on top of that, they don't really have a choice. They're going to be Power Rangers, so they better get their shit together. This review shouldn't be too long, so let's just jump into some pros and cons. Pros, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's fun. The action is pretty good. The action's it's pretty good. What I'll say is the action without the suits is really good. And then when they finally get the suits on, Naturally, it seems a little bit fake, but that's because they have to do CGI work to it. I think they should take a page from the without suits action and just kind of paste it onto the with suits action, and I think the action would have been damn near perfect. Another big positive is the characters. I like the characters. I like these Rangers. The Rangers, there's no character that doesn't have some kind of depth to them. If you just remember watching the TV show and how every character was kind of like flat and two-dimensional, at least from my perception, because everything was cheesy. There was no strong development. Like Zordon was just a floating head thing giving instructions. You are the Power Rangers, blah blah blah, blah. And every character was like, "Wow, we're the Power Rangers. We have to do what's right," and all that stuff. That's not that kind of movie. All right. It is a little bit cheesy at times, but I mean, what'd you expect? You're going into a Power Rangers movie, not expect some cheese. That's kind of, that's not true, man. This definitely feels like a real world character kind of movie. It definitely feels real world, like these are real people, real teenagers that have these real problems in the modern, kind of sense, if that makes sense at all. It's hard to say without kind of giving away what happens. I thought the actors that they chose for the movie, they had like really good chemistry with each other. They like every moment that they had with each other, really it felt real, and every interaction they had with each other felt real and organic. I'm just gonna throw out that word organic. It felt good. It felt real. Like the interactions were genuine. I felt it, and I like that. The characters and the actors that played the Rangers, good stuff. That's a huge positive in the movie for me. So let's just talk about the negatives, I guess. The CGI. The CGI of the suits is about the only positive CGI that I could say. Other than that, it was okay, but you could tell that a lot of the other things were definitely CGI. And I'm not saying cartoony. I'm talking just, you could tell that it looks fake. It looks like everything's too fluid, The suits look really good, though. The suits look really good. But, just the enemies, whatever they're called, the putty guys, whatever, those look fake to me. The Zords look pretty good. The Megazord is all right. That one looked a little bit fake. Goldar, I hate to say it, Goldar looked fake as fuck. I don't like saying it. I know he was moving gold, but I don't think that justifies how fake he looked. I'm not saying he looks bad. I'm just saying he looks fake is all. Another negative I have is Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa. At the beginning, she was really cool because she was like a fucking zombie coming back to civilization, coming back after millions of years of just being nothing. She was nothing. She was dead. And then she comes back, and then she's just a villain straight out of like a comic book. And this movie doesn't need a comic book villain. It needs a good villain. That's not to say that she wasn't good, but definitely Goldar was a better villain than Rita because he was like the physical match that they needed. But there was tropes in there where Rita could have killed the Rangers. She could have straight up just murdered them, and it's that type of movie where if they want that real character feel that they're giving us, like this real grounded in reality type movie that every comic book movie or just superhero movie is going for nowadays, then they can't have that. They can't tie up the Rangers and then not kill them. You know what I mean? That's not acceptable anymore. And by the way, filmmakers, that needs to stop. Please, no more tying them up. No more tying the heroes up unless you plan to kill them. Seriously. I'm just kidding. I seemed really mad about that for no reason. It wasn't that bad. I just didn't like Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa. I don't know if she did that on her own free will, that comic book cheese to it, or if that's the way she was told to portray the villain. I didn't like it overall though. It could have been miles better in the second half of her performance. In the beginning, like I said, it was really good, but then she turned all comic book villainy, and I'm gonna explain my evil plan and all that stuff. I didn't care for the second half of it. First half was pretty good, though. That's of Rita's character, though, not the movie. Like I mentioned, the movie is sequential. You have Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Act 1 was, obviously, it's setting up the characters. You're not going to get Power Rangers stuff right away, except for the very beginning. The opening shot is a Power Rangers thing from, like, millions of years ago. That's when Zordon was still, like, an actual living thing in a Power Ranger suit. But other than that, we were talking about our Rangers. It takes time setting them up. and it's kind of slow. That's okay. The second act picks up. It's funny. It's got more action to it. Like I said, it takes a while to get traction. It takes the first act to build up that traction. Then the second act, it's moving. It's definitely moving, but not the speed you're hoping for. And then the third act, you're like going like 30 miles an hour in the second act. In the third act, you're going on a highway all of a sudden like 80 miles an hour. You're just like, holy shit. I just got bombarded with like fucking awesomeness. A couple other things. These aren't negatives. I just kind of want to say some notes about the movie. In general, the soundtrack was kind of hit or miss. There was a lot of times where I feel like the soundtrack could have been taken out or changed because it would have added more to what the scene was trying to do. Like there's a really sad scene in the movie, or I mean, you know, as sad as it possibly could be, but they could have changed it or left it out because it kind of took away from what I think the scene was trying to do. But of course, Kanye was in there. I got a lot of shit, by the way, about one of the reactions I did about Kanye being in the trailer. I don't hate Kanye, and I don't hate his music. I just think his music is overused in trailers. But in the movie, it was actually pretty cool. I liked his song in the movie. It was power still, but the way it was used, it's in that third act where like just everything is exploding around you. That was pretty good. I actually enjoyed that. It was all right. The cinematography was interesting. I couldn't really pick up what exactly they were trying to do with how they shot the movie. I liked it though. Like overall, if I can't really think of a negative for the way the movie was shot, then I think the movie was shot pretty well. But it had interesting camera angles. Like there's times, actually no, I think there was like one or two scenes where it was in first person. It was POV. It was pretty cool, but just overall, the cinematography was pretty good. Overall, the movie, it did the best that it could, but it's nothing groundbreaking. You know, it definitely is not the show though. I don't agree with a lot of the reviews that I saw that's saying that this movie is just as cheesy as the show as the shows are, but with better CGI. I don't think that's true. Maybe with the exception of the third act when they're finally suited up and they're fighting monsters and stuff. But other than that, I don't think it was. I think it was pretty good, but there was nothing really like groundbreaking that made it this amazing movie. I keep saying it's a fun movie, but it's not like a great movie. It didn't tell like a mind-blowing story. It's a Power Rangers movie, so there is that respect. It's basically like a nostalgia boner for people who watch the show. I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's fun. It's fun. That's really, when you boil it down and you get past the fact that the movie needs more suit action and we need to see those suits more, then, you know, you can still boil it down to just a fun movie. It's fun. That's all like we said about it. Is there anything else in my notes? No, not really. Should I even include this in the spoilers? Like, should I even have a spoilers part? There's not much to talk about. Yeah, I guess I'll start right here. Billy dies. He dies, but obviously he's brought back. Like, what'd you expect? He thought he was just gonna stay dead. Kimberly sent some girl's nudes out to everyone. That's what I was talking about, like with teenagers with real problems. I said as real as it gets, man. I mean, she sent out nudes. That one almost wasn't even worthy of putting in the video. But the one that everyone wants to hear, I think, is Tommy Oliver. He's obviously going to be in the sequel. I stayed for the mid-credit scene. I didn't stay for the post-credit scene if there was one. So with that being said, I don't know if he's in there. In fact, I'm going to go on YouTube and look it up right now. So from what I could tell, there's only the mid-credit scene. And so, yeah, just all I know is Tommy Oliver is going to be in there, the Green Ranger. I wonder how they're going to do that. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I could talk myself in a circle a lot, so I'm just going to stop right there. It was a fun movie. I think that's about all I could say about it. It was fun. It wasn't great, but it also wasn't bad at all. It was a just fun movie. See what I mean by circle? Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.